all of this American title, escrow, closing, it's all bullshit. In Russia, we see property we want, we take. It's kind of like, how to say, like a piglet pushing other little piglet out of way to get the teat. That is how we do real estate in Mother Russia. But if you want to do this the right way in America, here is, how to say, expert in real estate.
So the number one way, obviously, to value land is you can go on the MLS and you can look for comps. And you just find, similar type size parcels of land that people are going to buy to likely build new homes. And, they sell for $80,000 and they're, within in the same zip code or within a couple blocks, and you can say, hey, this property is worth $80,000. A lot of times you're not able to find that information because a lot of these land transactions, sometimes they happen outside of the MLS. And so you don't have a lot of data to do this. So we have a back of the envelope way to value property to find the economic, value of land. Meaning, if our loan went bad and we had to take the property back, we could sell it as a piece of land, but maybe there wouldn't be a big market. Maybe the market downturns and there's not a big market for people trying to buy land. So we're stuck with this piece of land, and so we really need to take this thing all the way home, all the way for a touchdown. Meaning we're gonna have to get permits, we're gonna have to build the home, which we can do, and take it all the way to the end. And so we can find out a land value based on the value of the finished property. So the first thing you do is you go to your piece of land and you do maybe in the same zip code or in the same area, maybe you'll draw a custom shape around your property. It could be a circle, could be a square, whatever. And usually I'll look for homes that are within 14 or 15 years old. There was a downturn in 2007, 2008, so there was a little bit of a lull in home building. You could go maybe 2008 and beyond, but I usually go year 2000. I go all the new construction homes that were built, recently, and then I begin to go and figure out the value of a home. And a lot of times they'll tell me, hey, in this neighborhood, let's say it's Maple Valley, Washington, a $400,000 home is about 2,300 square feet if it's newer. So that's the first thing I do, is I try to find the exit value of a new home built in a neighborhood. From that, I'll take, let's say it's 400,000. I'll try to find the net sales price. Let's say this is the value of a newer home. I try to find the net sales price. And for that, you have to deduct about 7 or 8% to pay both realtors and your excise tax and your escrow fees, all the things you don't want to pay when you sell your home, but you have to pay. So what I will do on my 400,000, I'll multiply it by, let's say, 0.93. So 400 times 0.93 gives me a net sales price of $372. And that's about with a 7%, commission and excise tax. And really you could use anywhere up to 6, 7, 8, or 9% on that. But that's your net sales price, $372. Then we try to find the cost to build a home. And we use it per square foot. Typically, now in the past people have built homes for insane low amounts, $50 a foot, $60 a foot, $70 a foot. Really the lowest I ever used for our analysis is $85 a foot. And that's for a basic house, kind of a cookie cutter new construction house that you might find in a suburb. Those are about the prices of building homes. If it's a slightly higher end home, maybe in a better neighborhood, upper median type neighborhood with better finishes, maybe I'll use $95 a foot, $100 a foot, $105 a foot. So, you really have to make a judgment call on what you think. Maybe you're going to go 85, maybe you're going to use 95, 105, or perhaps 125. When would you ever use 125 as your cost to build? Really, only two situations you would use that is one, an extreme luxury home, perhaps in one of the premier neighborhoods of your area, a large home with really, ornate finish level, a luxury home, or an ultra modern type home, which is really popular in the last 2 or 3 years, where it might not be a big home per square foot, but it's going to be really, really modern, possibly built green, having those types of features and that type of style. And buyers, in this movement are paying a premium for those types of homes, and those homes could cost, 10 to 15% more to build. So that's when you might sometimes use the 125. But on a lot of properties, I end up using just $85 to $95 a foot, especially if it's a $400,000 home, in a average to possibly below average neighborhood, in the Seattle area, King County area. So in this example, let's use $90 a foot. So in this scenario, I say a $400,000 home, about 2,400 square feet. I figure it's going to cost you $90 a foot to build it. Go 2,400 times 90. It says it's going to cost me $216,000 to build this home. So now I'm going to erase up here. I know that my net sales price, is $372. I know that my cost to build my home is $216. And I know there has to be a value to the land. And there has to be a profit to the builder. So there's 4 components. The net sales price of the property, which is just, in this case, $400,000, minus paying all the realtors, gets me to $372. I know my cost to build is $216,000 because I said that I'm going to build a 2,400 square foot house. It's going to cost me $90 a square foot. It's going to cost me $216,000 to build this home. And I know I have 2 other components: the value of the land and the profit to the builder. So really it's just a real simple algebraic equation that you would do maybe in 6th, 7th grade, 8th grade. And you have to figure out a profit to the builder, and from that you can derive the value of your land. The profit percentage I use for the builder is 25% return on their capital over 12 months. 25% return on capital. To go through all the pain and suffering of tying up your money and building a home and getting permits and doing all that work, they're not going to do all that work for, they might do it for 20%. They're not going to go out and do all that work for a 10% profit, okay? And they'd love to do it for a 50% profit or a 40% profit or a 30% profit, but the competitive market forces have driven up, the prices of land. And so really 25% is a number that I've got from talking to various people in the real estate industry, and then using that number and looking at comparable land sales. It's a pretty nice back of the envelope number to use in order to model out, a 12-month return. And in this scenario, it's real simple. I'm assuming this builder is going all cash. There's no borrowing, even though we are a lender. For this analysis, I assume there's no borrowing. So what I'm saying is this builder needs to make 25% on his money, and he's going all cash to build the home and to buy the land. So the 2 components of his money is building the home and buying the land. And when it's all said and done, 1 year later, he needs to make a 25% return on his money. So I'm going to erase this a little bit, keep the top part. And really, I just start playing with numbers in terms of what I think the possible value of this land would be. So I'm going to say $70,000. I start with a guess. Then I plug that into my equation. I go 70 plus 216, which is 286. Then I take the 372, my net sales price, divide it by my 286, which is my all-in. The two components of my all-in is my cost to build and the price of the land. So 372 divided by 286 equals 1.30. So that's essentially 30%. 1.30 saying the guy's making 30% on his money. I know that guys are willing to make 25% on their money, so I'm a little low. So I might try $80,000. Now I know my all-in is 296. And so I'm going to go 372 divided by 296. I'm going to see what that gives me. And that's 1.25%. So basically, I'm tying up $296,000 of my capital over a year. But at the end of the year, I'm going to make $372,000. And so my capital is going to bring back a 25% return. So with that type of calculation, I'm able to say, I believe the finished value of this land is $80,000. Now, that's the finished value of the land. That's permits in hand, all sidewalks put in. If you needed a stormwater drain or some sort of mitigation for a stream or whatever hoops that the county or the city is going to make you jump through, it's all done. It's all ready to go. You're ready to build. That's the $80,000. That's a finished value. A lot of times we're getting properties where maybe you're buying a house and you have this extra backyard and it's raw. It's not permitted. You're looking at the zoning, you're thinking, I think I can get another house, but you haven't been completely blessed by the city. So we would say that that property it's more of a raw value. So we're never going to give the full $80,000 finished value to a raw piece of land. We might give you half the value, maybe it's $40,000. And maybe if you sink, some time and effort and $10,000 and going back and forth for fees and permits and whatnot, maybe it would be worth $80,000. There could be situations where the property raw is only worth $20,000 because a lot of work needs to be done to the site and to make this piece of property ready to build a home. So that's kind of our way to get a finished value of the land. You comp out a newer home, figure out a net sales price. You figure out your cost to build using various finish levels. In this case, it was $90,000. Use your 25% rule, which is the profit the builder needs to get on his money in 12 months. And from there, you back calculate a finished value for a piece of land.